Hello, good morning and welcome from Davos in Switzerland. My name is Adrian Monck from the World Economic Forum, and I'm delighted to introduce this press briefing on the Global Collaboration Village, which is an exciting project in the metaverse. With us to describe what the Global Collaboration Village can do and what we can expect from it, delighted to welcome Professor Klaus Schwab, founder and executive chair of the World Economic Forum, Julie Sweet, Chair and Chief Executive Officer of Accenture, and also a member of the Forum's Board of Trustees, and the Vice Chair and President of Microsoft, Brad Smith. Big thanks to all of them for joining this morning. And without further ado, Klaus, I'm going to hand over to you to introduce the Global Collaboration Village.
Thank you, Adrian, and good morning. The Global Collaboration Village is a pioneering effort to use the metaverse for the public good, to create global cooperation and to strengthen global cooperation in the metaverse or using metaverse technologies. For me, it's a dream coming through because the village allows the forum to create a more larger and open platform where everybody can participate, and which is much more driven bottom-up than top-down. And we are pleased to create this Global Collaboration Village in cooperation with Accenture and with Microsoft. But behind there is now a consortium of village partners which comprises over 80 companies, international organizations such like the IMF, WTO, UNDP, also NGOs and academic institutions and the first countries. So the idea is to bring all the stakeholders, governments, business, civil society, together on a continued, sustained basis to supplement what we are doing here in Davos. But here in Davos, in the physical world, of course, we are restricted. In the virtual world, you have no limitations. So this will be an expansion, and hopefully not only an expansion, but it will increase substantially the impact of the dialogues which are going on under the roof of the World Economic Forum. Let me just say it's a journey. You may have seen the first applications. I have to say for me, it was first experience to use an avatar, but I got so fast accustomed to it, so I'm fascinated by the capabilities which we have. And I know it will take some time, but for me, this is the next phase, the next big phase of development in the virtual world. And we are very proud that together with our partners, we can work on creating the first use of this technology for the public good.
Klaus, thank you very much. Julie, I mean, Accenture are already using the metaverse on quite a massive scale internally. Can you talk a little bit about your engagement with this project and also about the wider applications for the metaverse in business?
Great. Well, let's start with business, and we'll start with one number, $1 trillion. So that is what we estimate by 2025 the metaverse will influence in revenue in the private sector. And that really is going to cross three big areas. So it's super simple: consumer, enterprise, and industrial. So in the consumer world, we're already starting to see the metaverse come to life. Think Nike Land with 20 million users. Think the Gucci digital products that you can buy. And actually 55% of consumers say that they want to interact with companies in the next year through the metaverse. But interestingly enough, as cool as the consumer piece is, The value today that we see is in enterprise and industrial. So in enterprise, it's all about collaboration and new ways of working. And so I think about Accenture. We onboard 150,000 new people a year in what we think is the largest enterprise use of the metaverse. It's now becoming a part of how we work. We're about to have our first fair for inclusion and diversity, allowing us to bring people around the world in a shared experience using the metaverse. And next year, when we do our Investor Day, which involves executives from around the world, we're going to actually do all of our practicing and preparing in the metaverse of where we will be actually giving that Investor Day in person. Again, it's changing how we work, making it much easier, more efficient, and allowing us to collaborate in different ways. I believe, having done this myself, whether I'm bringing clients or onboarding employees, that the killer app is really the different ways to collaborate. And you see that with the Global Collaboration Village. One of the most remarkable things at the beginning of this work was how our colleagues from the World Economic Forum, Microsoft, and Accenture never got in a room together, never flew to Davos, and created this incredible metaverse and how we were going to actually run it entirely in the metaverse. This was a first, and just think about how much innovation just the two of our companies do, and then we expanded that with our partners. It's truly changing the way we work. Now, the industrial metaverse is even more exciting in many ways because of the value it can create. We're working with Sempra in the US, one of the most cutting-edge utilities, to train people on how to better fight wildfires, a major problem in California. The examples of how the industrial metaverse, whether from helping sustainability by creating digital twins and not wasting materials, to how you're going to be able to reach far and remote areas, be able to train better and be more efficient. There's incredible value. So the private value is there. But when you think about why to go to the metaverse, the World Economic Forum is really pioneering the fourth killer app, and that is for public purpose. I'm really proud to be on the board of trustees of the World Economic Forum and to be a part of what is truly pioneering, which is the World Economic Forum is using emerging technology. We've been doing sprints so that we can help shape the technology from how to be responsible to finding the use cases. And so the fourth use is really about how to use the metaverse to solve big problems. And I hope each of you are able to go to this year's instantiation, which is all about the oceans. Now, one thing to remember is that the metaverse is rooted and is successful because it serves two purposes. It serves human need, and it creates something that doesn't exist today, the interaction of the digital and virtual world where we can experience it together. And how it's rooted in human need is you just go back to when you were a child and you were drugged to the museum by your school. Why were you taken to the museum? To interact with art in person, because the teachers knew that would be a much more engaging way. I went to Washington, D.C. as an 8th grader because standing in front of the Washington Monument was a different way of engaging. The metaverse allows you to immerse, to have greater learning, and to have an experience that can't be done because everybody can't be brought to places like the bottom of the ocean. And even if you can visit, you can't be there in a sustained way. So it's super exciting what we're doing together with the World Economic Forum and so many of our partners to be able to use this technology to solve actual problems in a way that doesn't exist today. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Adrian.
Thanks so much, Julie. That's a great example of what business can do with this technology. Brad, Microsoft famously provides things like Outlook, Teams, Excel, Word. What's the future of this kind of technology for collaboration and the working kind of environment?
Well, let me build on what Klaus and Julie were saying, and obviously we see huge potential for advancing collaboration in all of the areas that Julie mentioned. And in some ways, as you suggested, Julie, I think we're seeing it almost take off in the industrial space faster than anywhere else. People need to collaborate when they're on a factory floor to repair machinery, to check on maintenance, or to train people to fight wildfires. I think that is a very interesting example. Certainly more broadly, the world of work is about collaborating, and it is about collaborating for people regardless of where they're located. And we've been embarked for, frankly, decades on a path where we've been able to collaborate more closely with new technologies. And we're seeing this obviously accelerate as a result of the pandemic. We all became accustomed to interacting through video. The metaverse is another and the next dimension to this. And I think what that really leads to is where Klaus began. This particular project, in our view, is of enormous importance for the world because of the role that the World Economic Forum plays in the world. This is an opportunity to create a village without borders, a village that is open to everyone, a village that enables people, as Klaus said, to facilitate participation from the bottom up, meaning that really anyone who can access the internet and the metaverse is able to engage, to see, to listen, to watch, and to speak, and to have a voice and use that voice in conversation. The development process that we pursued here, I think, is illustrative of how the metaverse is evolving more broadly, but I think it's especially important for this vision of a village without borders. It's an open development process, and it is an open development philosophy. We're creating at Microsoft, through Microsoft Mesh, a software platform that will be accessible to people through a variety of different hardware devices. 3D devices that people obviously wear, like glasses or goggles, but also two-dimensional devices like a laptop screen. And of course, the experience will not be identical. People who can participate in 3 dimensions will get a benefit, but all of this is about bringing something new and better, something that meets a human need, to people in the broadest possible way. The other point that then I would conclude with is it's really an unusual, I won't go quite as far as to say unprecedented, but a very unusual approach to the rapid development of a new technology. For those of you who were here in May, their first demonstrations took place. It was what we in the software industry call proof of concept. And we moved very quickly to proof in concept. We had someone who was both inspiring us and pushing us along. That was Klaus's role. If you were here in May, one of the requests that we made was frankly for help by others. We opened it up. We asked if we could find 50 other participants in the WEF who would be interested in the next steps in the development process. And we surpassed that goal very quickly and by a substantial margin. So now we're back in January. And so this is what we call private preview. It's as the product has advanced considerably, it's now something that can be used by a broader circle of people who are all providing ongoing input and really shaping where the technology is going. Our aspiration now in 2023 is to take this from what we call private preview to what we always call in our industry GA, or general availability. That's when you get to the point where you feel like you have a finished product, although as you know, when it comes to software, nothing ever stops. You then go from version 1 to 2 and 3. But I think one of the critical things, and I think it's so fitting for the mission that we're working here to advance, is that this is technology that is being made for people with the participation of a broad circle of people. And I think that's how we'll ensure that we ultimately bring it to fruition in a way that is going to bring the World Economic Forum to more people in more ways than ever before.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks to all of our panelists. Just to get a sense, are there questions from anyone in the room? Anyone wants to ask something? Someone on the front row?
Hi there. I'm interested, Brad, and all of you really, in terms of opening this up to a wider cohort of people. I realise in the developed world, we obviously have access to phones and laptops, but obviously some of the hardware that's ordinarily that we see in terms of the headsets. How does one make that? How do you make that available to the developing world and society, perhaps that doesn't have access to broadband, etc.?
Brad, do you want to start?
Sure. I think first we have to look at this as something that needs to move together in concert with other initiatives to bring more technology to more people. It's why we announced as a company in December an initiative that we believe will bring broadband to 100 million additional people in Africa alone in the next 2 years alone. So we need to bring more connectivity to more people. And I think we should be optimistic that if we act with determination, we'll do that. If you bring connectivity, then you open up the opportunity for people to work with more hardware devices. Once you are on a 2D screen, you can reach screens of varying sizes. And I think that's important. We're not yet at the point where everyone in the world has a smartphone, but we're moving rapidly towards that. I think in addition, we'll just see a world where there's rapid innovation in the hardware space. We're already seeing that. More companies producing more hardware devices. As they do that, two things will happen. The first is that the technology will improve. Julie was talking before we began just about how the next generation of the 3D technology is a huge step forward. But the other thing one always sees in these markets is that prices fall. So I think that's the ultimate goal, to bring better technology at lower prices with more ubiquitous connectivity around the world.
But Brad, I think as you said at the beginning, you can access this technology if you've got a smartphone.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about it. It's the key to why something needs to be hardware agnostic. Open it up so then people can access it on a variety of different devices.
And we're already at Accenture. We have many people who are using our Meta Oculus headsets, and we also have those who are doing it 2D, and it's very effective. So we know that this can be an inclusive technology, and we actually built the World Economic Forum, the Global Collaboration Village, to be able to be accessed in 2D and 3D, so that it's really actually broadening the ability for more people to participate in these conversations.
Klaus.
I think you have seen that at this annual meeting we have made special efforts to integrate, let's say, more poor countries, more remote countries into the discussions. And of course, this is partially difficult, but with the new technology we can really give everybody a capability. Even if he hasn't yet the latest technologies, that was very important for us. We didn't want to create an elitist situation where only those who can afford the hardware can participate. No, with the accessibility via, let's say, the devices we have already, you may have a lower, let's say, degree of engagement, but you can be engaged, and that's important.
Thanks very much. Other questions?
Hello, a question to Mr. Schwab. I think the metaverse is a great tool to reinvent the way we work, but in general, my question is, in the moment we see quite a big decline in trust in political institutions and also in their representatives worldwide. And a meeting here in Davos, to what extent do you think this can strengthen to build this trust again?
I would refer afterwards also to Brad Smith. I think what is essential is to make sure that the system as such, the technology, can be trusted. And One of the village partner, for example, is Interpol. So we work together already with the necessary instances to make sure that the system is as safe as it can be. Second, of course, we will elaborate a governance system which makes sure in independent ways that the system is not misused.
Do we have a question over that side of the room? I feel like an auctioneer watching bids because, you know, you see a movement and you think that's a question, but actually it's just someone scratching their nose. Are we good? If we're good, we all, I think, have exciting things to go on to the rest of our day. I want to thank all our panelists, Brad, Julie, Klaus. Thanks to all of you, and hope you have a profitable and enjoyable day here in a very chilly Davos. Thanks very much for joining us. Bye-bye now.
Thank you for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.